A senator asks who's to blame for hiring the thief from baggage claim. And if he was so quickly disgraced, how was he ever in charge of nuclear waste? I speak of the Sam Brinton. That's his mugshot. The non-binary, hairless, and careless former Biden energy official allegedly behind 2 luggage thefts in Minneapolis and Vegas. Since we last reported on Sam's airport follies, he's lost his job as, quote, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Spent Fuel and Waste Disposition at the Department of Energy's Office of Nuclear Energy. The real tragedy, that title will never be a Wheel of Fortune puzzle. He has soiled it. This embarrassing scandal raises 2 very important questions. How the hell did this nutcase get a security clearance when I can't? And is there any red lipstick left for the rest of us? Republican Senator John Barrasso is demanding answers to both those questions. I'm lying. But Barrasso, whatever, is calling on the Energy Department to launch an internal investigation into its security clearance process, saying it's in America's national security interest. If the DOE had done just a little social media vetting, they would have found a treasure trove of pics of Sam engaged in kinky puppy play. And that a certain foreign object is probably not a chew toy. Well, I mean, it could be used as one. And not that there's anything wrong with puppy play, as long as it's between 2 consenting adults who test negative for heartworm. So the senator wants a probe into Sam's vetting process. A probe? Something tells me Sam will welcome that with open arms. Aaron, why do you think it took so long to fire this guy?
Well, I certainly don't think this administration wanted to fire a non-binary individual. I think that was probably one of their biggest hangups. And Sam did pass a security clearance. That is a good question that Senator Barrasso is asking. How did that happen? But do you want to be the federal agent who's going through this guy's background, who's looking at that kind of photo on social media, being like, so do you think you can keep nuclear secrets? How do you be the what it looks like could be ignorant federal agent when you try to ask questions of a non-binary individual, and then you go to the Biden administration and you have to say, so I've got concerns about your non-binary individual in this very woke administration. You don't want to be that federal agent. There's certainly a really important conversation that should be had about how do you vet somebody who lives like this so publicly in the future without being rude, I guess.
I just thought about this. If Sam identifies as a they, does he get double the unemployment benefits? Because that's a really good. If I'm a they, I would get lots of stuff, Kat.
Fine, I'm a city.
You actually identify as Minneapolis.
City, yeah, pay taxes. Let's go.
Kat, could it be that, could you look at this from the opposite perspective and saying that when you have super bizarre stuff online, it's almost like you can't be blackmailed?
Yeah, plus, I mean, are we insinuating that you don't deserve a security clearance just because you're a little kinky?
That's not a little.
Doesn't matter. I don't want to, lump all of the non-stupid, non-stealing kinky people in with Sam.
You're absolutely right.
This guy, he's a dumbass, or they is a dumbass. They is a criminal. They is a stupid criminal. But I'm sure there's lots of kinky people everywhere that, are very qualified. I'm sure there's kinky patriots.
Yes, I mean, look at Larry Kudlow.
Yeah. If you want to do that, then go ahead and do that. Don't be stealing people's luggage repeatedly from an airport.
I have this idea, Tyrus. He's now unemployed. Should we hire him as...
No!
No, travel... Hear me out.
No!
Travel correspondent. Travel correspondent.
No.
No?
Stop.
Okay.
He's not qualified for that either. He's not even going to find his suitcase.
The best part is one of those times he picked up a suitcase and he didn't even check a bag. Like, you can't even claim plausible deniability to be like, you know what?
Not to hire this individual.
So strange. And I think that's the point that Kat just raised. I mean, you have to be bullied. You can't actually call something out because you're afraid that you're going to insult him, her, because she's binary. I mean, I just think that You do the crime, you do the time.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I want to just play this thing out. I don't think it's about it's obviously not about non-binary. It's about fetishism, okay? This is a fetishist who hides behind the gend trend. Kind of like the giant-breasted implant lady from Ottawa, Canada, correct, huh? You can applaud. In your face, Kat. People still care about that story. I'm going to win a Pulitzer. My point being that fetishism is different than gender. If I decided I wanted to come, I'm a nudist, and that's but that's part of being non-binary, then that means that people can't object. But it's a fetish. It's not an identity. Does that follow?
Whatever you choose to do or not do, in my case, in the bedroom, then you should. It needs to be in the bedroom. What bothers me about this is both those individuals that you mentioned, both, according to science, is going to shock people, were born men. Mm-hmm. And if they stayed men, stay with me now, if they stayed men, if they continue to identify as a man, and they got into politics and they had these behaviors, they would be out of their job as soon as it went out. As soon as it was like Gutfeld ties up men and makes them bark like dogs and does stuff to them, you'd be fired. No questions asked.
Yeah.
Moral code, done.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to binary people because their gender is how they feel. It has nothing to do with what they're doing in their bedroom.
Yeah.
And if their sexuality is that, they're not exposing that. And there's like a rule across the board. You can be whatever you want to be, but your moral code has to have something to do with it. And see, they throw out the moral code, and then that's why there's no vetting.
Yeah.
He just checked the box. So you can't vet him.
No, you can't.
Or her, or whatever that. I'm sorry, I'm with you. I'm the Peterson thing. What's Sam? You can't vet Sam. You can't check on Sam because he's the first.
Yes.
And he might have some stuff there, but we're making history here.
Right. I want to bring in. Are you going to be covering this on Mornings with Me?
We haven't done a lot on this.
What do you mean? But see, do you know what? But it's like I call it a news porcupine. Even the media is afraid to touch the story because, ouch, I might prick myself.
You're right. It's not right.
Yeah.
I mean, and the national security clearance. Who's vetting these people?
Yeah, no, they decided
It's outrageous.
Yeah, he was immune. He was a porcupine. Nobody wanted to get close. And now we've all learned a valuable
Virtue
lesson.
signaling was more important than actually checking to see if he had virtue.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.